Representative Ramirez.
Thank you, Chairman and Ranking Member. Secretary Collins, it's good to meet you. As Ranking Member of the Oversight and Investigation Subcommittee, I've made a commitment to honor the service of veterans in this country with action. And that includes 20,727 veterans that live in my district. So when I talk about veterans, I talk about all veterans. And that includes women, that includes people of color, that includes first generation, low income, LGBTQ veterans, and also deported veterans. I know we don't talk about it enough here, but there are veterans who have fought for this nation and have now been deported. And because every veteran is entitled to the full benefits they earned and were promised, I want to make sure that we have a conversation today about where we are on diversity, equity, and inclusion. When you, Secretary Collins, and my Republican colleagues celebrate turning your backs on a commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion at the VA, it feels like you're turning your back on veterans. And I'll tell you why I say that. I don't believe that any administration and any secretary has the authority to decide which veteran is worthy of the services and care that they're entitled to and which is not. So, Secretary, given the VA's mission to serve every single veteran, is meeting veterans where they are a priority for you, yes or no? Thank you. And if that's the case, why has the VA paused all outreach efforts? So let me explain to you. We have been attempting to work with the VA to do outreach services with the veterans and meet veterans. Sometimes veterans can't make it to a VA center. Sometimes they can't make it to a VSO. And so there's outreach, there's fairs. We have been told that outreach services have been put on pause. And so my question has been, how has halting outreach improved access for veterans?
That's not true. We've been at events, and I can give your office plenty of events, and I was just in Detroit where we're doing outreach events in bus stations, we're doing outreach events at sporting events, we're doing outreach events all over.
I'm really glad you said that, because now I'm more concerned, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because on March 6th, I sent a letter asking about paused outreach programs on behalf of veterans in my district who were confused and frustrated. We invited the VA to participate in some of the fairs and events that we do in outreach, and they told us that services had been paused. Did you receive the letter that we sent on March 6th?
I'm sure we did.
So we have not heard back from your office. When can I expect an answer?
You're going to expect an answer right now, because what you have just described is malicious compliance, and it is not tolerated. That is not what is happening. And for a VA employee to tell you that they could not come to a fair or outreach is taking what was done and said, and I've had to already face this. So I appreciate your question.
Well, yeah.
I'm as upset about it as you are. That is malicious compliance, because what they wanted to be able to do was to say, we couldn't do outreach, although they can do outreach.
Well, Secretary, let me just tell you then, for the record here, in the letter that you have from March 6th, on Wednesday, March 5th, 2025, we received correspondence from Chicago community leaders of the Jesse Brown VA Medical Center. Notice that they were temporarily pausing any comprehensive outreach programs effective March 7th. So I'm going to make sure that we enter this into the record.
Without
Secretary, after you and I can have a conversation more about it, because obviously there are concerns there that I know you want to address. So
could I get a copy of that letter as well?
Yeah, actually, we have a letter for the copy of the letter here. We'll make sure to get it to you.
Look, this is something that frustrates me, and even if I had to pause and wait for this, I don't want you to feel like you're losing time, Mr. Chairman, because this one is upsetting to me, because I'm having to deal with this a lot.
Well, this is exactly why we bring this here. That's why members of Congress
I'm so happy you did. Thank you so much for bringing it, because that's exactly, malicious compliance right now is hurting our veterans, and if our VA employees are doing that, it's wrong.
Well, and thank you for saying that, Secretary, because outreach, making sure we're meeting veterans where they are, is so incredibly important, in making sure that they access the resources they need. So you and I agree, necessity to ensure that outreach is being done in every part of the country is critical. And I'll say to you, I find it even more critical because sometimes I know that there are veterans that can't make it to certain places. Black and brown veterans are placed in housing at lower rates. We know that by facts. We know that women veterans face greater barriers to care. And we know that trans veterans are living authentically, still face discrimination inside the very system meant to serve and honor them. So, Secretary, just this morning, I heard from diverse veterans who said going after diversity, equity, and inclusion programs feels like an excuse not to serve all veterans. And you said earlier, you're committed to our veterans. But I didn't hear you clarify when my colleague asked you about the Office of Equity, how these disparities are going to be confronted and how you're going to make sure that disparities are addressed. So can you talk a little bit more about it?
Yes, I'd be happy to. It doesn't need an Office of Equity and Inclusion to actually make sure that veterans are treated properly. That's something that we've developed. And I understand something. There's offices for you, me, anybody, no matter where their service is. If they've earned the service, if they've earned the benefit, they're going to come.
So Secretary, where would they go if they have experienced discrimination? Who should they be calling?
The same place you would. In the same Office of Whistleblower Protection. They can call their congressman. They can call, there's several outlets for them to do that. But I will tell you right now, no matter what background they are, male, female, gender, it doesn't matter. If they've earned a benefit and they have something at the VA that they feel like they're not getting, then you personally call me and I'll walk into the clinic.
I'm glad you say that, Secretary. So I have a follow-up question to that. Trans veterans are veterans. They wore the uniform, they serve this country, and gender-affirming care is health care. It's suicide prevention, it's dignity. Last time I raised this with your team, the responses were unsatisfactory. Mr. Secretary, gender-affirming care is shown to reduce suicide risk and ends veteran suicide. Ending veteran suicide is a VA priority. So will you defend and expand access to gender-affirming care, yes or no?
We're going to continue those that are in the VA system to receive the care that they were currently, but we're not adding sex change in the VA. That's just not what we're going to do. So they'll get every benefit they've earned.
Thank you, Secretary. I just have 47 seconds left.
That's fine.
I'm disappointed in hearing that, but I'm not surprised. This administration and my colleagues keep supporting a divisive agenda for the VA that harms our veterans. American veterans are diverse, and we don't get to decide who's worthy of our promise to honor their service with action. The reality is that in this moment, we have veterans who don't believe they'll be able to get care under this administration. And I want to make sure for the record and in the work that we do in oversight, that when we talk about every single veteran, we mean every single veteran. And that means gender-affirming care as well. With that, Chairman, I yield back.